Welcome to Mythical Phylogeny Adventures. I'm your guide Jason. We've been covering some rather vicious and sinister monsters as of late, so I think we should look at something a bit sillier, such as the Cait Sith. How bad could a little cat be? The Cait Sith comes from Scottish folklore, but a few references do pop up in Ireland. It is also called Cait Sith or Cait Sith. It is described as a black cat, except for one little white spot on its chest. Except it is the size of a dog. Now, unlike most cats, they are said to stand and walk upright like a person. When it is on all fours, its back is arched, and its fur stands on end. Basically, this is the classic cat we see around Halloween. So what is so impressive about this? Well, it has two major ways it is identified. And the first thing is a fairy. And of course, the second is a witch, who can transform into a cat a total of 9 times. So what are a few of the stories? Well, probably the most well known is that of an old man who's walking along the street when he sees a funeral procession, but not for a human. Instead, it was 9 black cats with white spots on their chest carrying the coffin down the street. One of them stops and looks at the man and speaks, "Tell Tom Tildrum that Tom Toldrum is dead," and then walks away. The man is shocked and races home to tell his wife, while their old cat laid on the floor. When he finished, his cat looked up and spoke, "Old Tom is dead? That makes me king of the cats." At which point, the cat sprinted up the chimney and was never seen again. That's a pretty silly story, isn't it? But it reveals that these cat fairies have a society, and with it a royal bloodline. They also live within human houses. But what are they doing during such times? Well, for the longest times, there weren't morgues and places to put the dead, so families would keep the deceased within a room of their house or barn until they could be buried. Now, you may have heard the term to sit up with the dead. It is also called a wake, a vigil, or feil fadalak. Well, it was believed that the soul of the dead would linger. The Cait Sith was said to be able to steal the soul by walking over and around the body. So, to protect the deceased, people would sit up and distract the cat away from the body. They would also avoid lighting fires near the remains to deter the cat from coming by. They would continue to do this until the body was buried and safe. During the Gaelic festival of Samhain, customary to leave out a saucer of milk for the Cait Sith in exchange for good luck. If not, your cows would run dry, among other pieces of bad luck. So, actually, pretty common amongst fairies, to be honest. This is done more to avoid angering them more than anything else, paying off the fairy from causing harm. But there are also stories about it being a witch or a demon. A farmer went out to buy a sheep, and when he got home, his wife told him that the cat had been acting strange and making bizarre sounds. He went looking for the cat, but couldn't find it. The next day, his new sheep wandered off, and he couldn't find it either. The next day, he went in search near an abandoned castle. When he reached it, he was crying and wailing. He waited for an hour until a large cat stepped out on the ramparts. It told him that its mother had passed. Then his sheep showed up, and he took it home. When he got back, he told his wife. Then their cat, which had returned, vanished once more and never came back. The 2 cats were sister witches. They were able to take this form 9 times, but after the 9th, they can never retake their human form. This is one of the possible reasons for the idea of witches and cats, though not the full story. That would also include remarks from the Pope. Though they aren't that powerful, they are limited in how many times they can change. 9 times isn't that many. At least one would be to learn about the transformation. So in reality, only 7 transformations, and the last one being a trap. Lastly, we have the demon variant. This one can be summoned involving a ritual. For 4 days and nights, you need to burn the remains of cats before it would appear. Then it would grant your wishes. Of course, some say that there is a price to be paid. Yeah, that's probably not going to be a smart idea. So what has led to the change from fairy cat to witch cat to demon cat? Well, it was always viewed negatively. With the rise of Christianity, the demonization of fairies into witches to demons isn't that big a jump. Doubly so when there was a ritual to summon one to make a deal makes a pretty easy jump. Overall, this is a fairly simple animal to create. It's a large cat which can walk upright. Now, cats can stand upright, but can't really walk well. Yet, if we rework the orientation of the hips until they mimic a human's, you'd also need to shift the tail a bit, else it would end up between the legs. Outside of that, its biology is pretty simple. No other changes needed. So, how can we protect ourselves from this cat? Most of the time, it is going after the soul of the recently deceased. Well, we have a couple of different foes going on here. Let's start with the fairy version. This isn't something which will fight. No, it's all tricks and whatnot, though it is said to be the size of a dog. And it's still pretty small relative to a human. It could scratch you and bite you, but those aren't going to do too much damage. A little bit of gambeson is more than enough. But we have better ways to fight. It doesn't care for cold places, so right away, using ice spells to chill the area can be used to ward it off. And a cold environment will help preserve the remains. Yet, there are other options. And I get to add another weird item to my list of things which I am surprised can be used as a weapon here. And that is catnip. Yep, we can drug our foe. Spread it around the area and keep it away from the dead. You could also send out children to play games and use cat toys too. Wow, I get to add a few new weapons to my list here. I'm just waiting until I can add something like cheese or asparagus. That will be the day. Next up is the witch option. This adds an extra issue. There is a chance that she can return back to her witch form. That would mean having a spellcaster version. If that is the case, I would prepare counterspells and use anti-magic. Yet, it may not be able to turn back. So potentially, you will be fighting a cat with human intelligence, and that isn't too much to be sure. Lastly, we have the demon version. This one may have one additional weakness, and that is holy magic, in addition to the other schools. So, what weapon would you want to skin this cat? Well, this is a cat. Yes, a large cat, but a cat nonetheless. Honestly, you could get away with any weapon you want. Yet I would choose something nimble, a sword for example. Something like a halberd might be too unwieldy to strike. The same might be true with using a bow and arrow. A net would be a good option, or a box. I'm sure it would be easy to get it to jump into a box and then drop the lid down on it. That should work. A good boot should break a few of its ribs too. Honestly, there is a lot you can do in this fight. It will need to rely on speed and agility rather than its own power. So, this is actually backwards compared to most of our opponents. That is why I'm going to give the Cait Sith a 2 of 10 for difficulty. It's going to be pretty hard for it to actually hurt you. The only thing which can make it difficult is if there are some additional powers, such as the witch version retaking its human form and casting spells, where I'll give it a 3 of 10, the same as a human. Or something beyond that if the demon version. But this shouldn't be too tough. I mean, the records literally talk about children being charged with keeping them away from the dead. If a 6-year-old can do it, an adventurer such as yourself shouldn't struggle. So what do we gain for defeating this thing? Well, you got the body of a cat. Its guts can be used to make string instruments, and the skin can be tanned and used for a few other things. But that's about it. What about summoning one and making a wish? Well, it will depend on the price and what you are asking for. So, what is it that you are wanting? I hope it is something good. If not, it definitely won't be worth it. Not a chance. Okay, but we do have a question. They are said to live in human houses, so what do they gain from this? Well, a chance to steal the souls of the dead, and there are other stories about cats stealing the breath and souls in other ways. So maybe that is what they are after. Yet there are other options. It is said that they were once witches. Potentially, they may be living with humans to regain some of the comforts they had as humans. What's better, a pet or living out in the wilds? Yeah, most would choose to be a pet. And it might hold a path for them to regain their humanity. Say, steal enough souls and they could change back. In addition, they will be going after milk. Yes, it isn't much, but it is something they are documented on going after, so it is something. But why would a human want one? Well, cats deal with rodents, so they are useful in that form. And some people do like cats, so it's your choice if you want to keep one around. It's nice doing a sillier little monster. These goofy ones can add some levity when we are talking about other dragons and monsters. The Cait Sith isn't a powerhouse and rarely causes much trouble. The only time they are is when they attempt to steal the soul of the deceased, and that is a problem to be sure, in addition to them making your cows run dry if you forget to give them a yearly tribute. But it can be a pet, if nothing more. Thank you for watching, adventurers. Please return next time. Until then, I'll see you on the roads.